All right, hello everyone, and thank you all so much for coming tonight. Welcome to the grand finale of the 2025 Craft Talk series at Arion Press. My name is Sienna, and I'm the Program and Development Coordinator at Arion Press. I am very happy to be... I'm very happy to be joined tonight by many others on the Arion team, specifically Brian Ferret, Joel Benson, Hung Trin, Megan Gibbous, and Caitlin Kirkpatrick, who are the members of our programming committee who helped dream up this Craft Talk series with me. Thank you to all of you for helping bring these programs to life this year, and also an extra special thank you to our board chair, Taylor Kirkpatrick, whose remarkable support and generosity has made these programs possible. Thank you. So for anyone who's new here, I'll give you a little bit of background before we get started. The Grabhorn Institute is a nonprofit founded to sustain two historic San Francisco enterprises, M&H Type and Arion Press. M&H is the nation's oldest continually operated type foundry, operating monotype machines that date back to the 1915 Panama Pacific International Exposition, which actually happened on the lawns right next to Fort Mason. Arion Press is a letterpress printer that pairs leading artists with classic literature to craft one-of-a-kind fine press books. Working with the M&H Foundry, Arion's press room and bindery create 2 to 3 publications a year in editions limited to 250 copies, which you can all peruse downstairs in our reception after the talk. What sets Arion's work apart is our team of expert bookmakers who craft each element from the comma to the cover entirely by hand. We also offer the only paid bookmaking apprenticeships in the country, from which most of our full-time production team members are proud alums. Our mission through our publications and programming is to share why the art of handcraft, specifically fine press bookmaking, is still just as relevant and important in the 21st century, which is why this Craft Talk series means so much to us to start this year. At a time when many traditional crafts are being lost to a digital age, we are proud to say that our facility downstairs remains the most extensive, not expensive, little Freudian slip, most extensive bookmaking facility in the country in daily operation to make books by hand from start to finish. Since moving here to Fort Mason last year, we are positioned to continuously have more events for more attendees than at any point in Arion's history. If you're interested in learning more about our public programming or want to be the first to hear about next year's Craft Talks, which are gonna be really good, I can tell you now, please sign up for our mailing list, which you can find on our website, our Instagram, or using the QR codes in the gallery downstairs. Tonight's event is part of an important new series at the Press, a collection of Craft Talks inviting artisans of various mediums to share presentations, engage in discussion, lead demonstrations, and tell stories about their expertise to the Bay Area art and craft community. At Fort Mason, Arion is expanding its accessibility as a gathering place for the local community to engage deeply with craft of all kinds. And we are so excited to welcome this collection of incredible printers today. Luca Antonucci is a San Francisco-based printer whose in-print and publishing practice, Colpa Press, publishes books with artists, as well as archival projects focused on local history and ephemera. Abby Banks is a San Francisco-based multimedia artist working in photography, sculpture, and printed matter. She collaborates with individuals to produce zines, books, and multimedia presentations of their work and creates zines and catalogs featuring her own artwork to support her exhibitions and curiosities. Zach Clark is an Oakland-based artist, educator, and publisher whose work is rooted in locational memory and is based in the intersection of printmaking, photography, and publication. He publishes as National Monument Press, a publishing project focused on supporting uniquely American stories through small edition printed matter and curatorial projects, completed largely through collaboration with other artists. And last but not least, our moderator, John DeMerritt, owns and operates John DeMerritt Bookbinding in Emeryville, California. His bindery produces editions of books and portfolios for fine press printers, publishers, galleries, and artists. John and his wife publish collaborative projects with artists under their imprint DeMerritt Pauwels Editions, and he is also a member of the Arion Press family. Without further ado, please welcome to the stage Luca, Abby, Zach, and John. Thank you.
It being spooky season, I thought we would start with a little lighthearted chit chat, and maybe Abby, I'll start with you.
Okay.
What's your worst printing or publishing disaster?
Disaster.
It could be bloody.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's the haunted risograph that chooses to print what it wants to print and not what I wanted to print. It's more of a battle of of souls. Who's going to win? And usually the printer wins. But I think a printing disaster. Oh, the artist I was working with wanted numbers, each page numbered, actually each photograph. And I forgot to add that. And so I had hundreds of pieces of paper that needed stamps of the number. And it was stamped, it happened, but it was treacherous, tedious.
Kinda
So
nauseating.
that might be the most
I thought you were going to say you just murdered them.
yeah.
And then the ghost haunted you.
The ghost of murdered the
artist.
Oh yeah.
Sorry about that.
Do you have a bloody story, Zach?
No, I just had my quip that I told a room full of college students that I didn't like Halloween, and then I died. They couldn't believe it.
This is where you're giving a talk?
No, I was teaching in class yesterday.
Oh,
A
wow.
student asked me, "You didn't ask what my costume was," and I said, "Yeah, because I don't like Halloween." And the room stopped and could not believe that is what happened. Yeah,
I feel the same.
yeah, no. So I don't ask because I don't want to bum you out, and I'm like, sorry, I don't care. So it's better just not talk about it.
Halloween's my favorite. Yeah, this is horrifying. I'm like Halloween year round.
I love that for you.
I had this thing happen. So I just came back from Los Angeles. I did this smaller book fair there called Acid Free, which, and I don't know if it was something about the book fair sort of scenario, but that was intimidating the children, but there was a portion of Sunday that was blocked off for trick-or-treaters. And so it was like the last 2 hours of the fair. So they gave candy to all the exhibitors and the kids were supposed to like walk around and trick or treat. But every kid that came up to my table would just be like, "Can I have some candy?" And I'd be like, "Try again." And then they'd be like, "Can I have some candy, please?" And then the parent would inevitably come around and I'd be like, "Oh," and then they'd be like, "You have to say trick or treat." And the kid would whisper into their ear so softly, "Trick or treat." And I was like, "Oh my God, this is like this has been lost from culture. Like the trick or treat is important. It's like how you become socialized. It's the way I remember learning how to talk to strangers. Maybe that's putting too much emphasis on it, but
These have all just been extended therapy sessions.
Yeah.
We've spent like 9 hours talking about this 1 hour talk. So
Yeah, it's true.
I got a spooky story. You guys want to hear it?
Yes.
Do you all remember Lapis Press? Anybody here remember? Okay, good. So this stays within this room. Lapis Press.
this is being recorded.
Yeah. It's probably going to be out on the internet pretty soon. This was probably 30 years ago in my apprentice days. And we were working on this big book with all these sexy etchings by Sam Francis, these kind of splattery. And I cut my finger when my boss wasn't around, and a big drop of blood fell into one of them. And I just closed the book. And now you all know. This is the first time I've spoken about this. I was traumatized for about 3 weeks, and then I forgot about it. So my DNA is in one of those books now. All right, spooky stories. Thank you. Let's get it. Okay. So from the horrors to the why. Why do we do this? What's the impulse behind the title of this panel is what is it? Publishing as practice.
yeah, add this photo in today.
Nice. Yeah.
cool. I love surprises.
That's the sign
That's a
to
great
Colpa
photo.
Press. If you ever get a chance to visit Colpa Press, I highly recommend it. You got to go down these stairs into this really amazing basement.
It's literally underground.
Yeah, it's literally an underground publisher. That's not even a metaphor. Maybe I'll start with Luca. Luca, you think publishing is a service, a vocation, or an art form?
I think I've come to realize that it's an art practice, because at least in the way that I think we all do it, like it's something that I wrestled with a lot, and part of what I do is a service. Like I print for people as a service, but then when I'm publishing, it's sort of the reason I fell in love with it is like it scratches a lot of the same itch as like art making for me, and it started scratching so much. Now this is a bad metaphor. It was so itchy that that it just became like after a while it started to feel like art making, like fully. Like it wasn't even like I was doing a lot of the same practices and techniques. It was more so that like it was engaging my mind. It was everything I wanted out of being an artist was making books. And so then I kind of like forgot about, even when you guys were doing the introductions before, or when Sienna was, it was like, I even forgot about making these distinctions between it being my imprint and publishing practice. Like, I just feel like every book you make is partially, something you've made. And then when you collaborate with people, it just becomes, more than that. So I think definitely art practice.
Yeah. Would you concur with that, Evan?
Well, I think for me, it is an art practice, but it's also a way to work with others. I think that is the most important part for me, besides working on my own stuff, but collaborating with others and like really learning about how they want to make their book and how we're going to work together and make decisions. And that is what drives me.
This old friend of mine, Brad Freeman, who used to publish, what was the Book Arts Journal that Brad used to publish? Yeah, Jab, thank you. Brad, who said that? Thank you. And
Can we get a light on the audience?
see who that was. Oh, awesome. Is that Brad? No. Brad told me once that book arts publishing is, or the best kind of book arts become a symphonic endeavor, which really resonated with me. Does that resonate with you, Zach?
You mentioned this as a prompt earlier, as if it was something we had talked about before, and I was like,
didn't.
"Whoa, did one of us say that?"
No, I did.
Because it
Brad
sounded
Freeman
so
did.
smart.
Yeah.
Yes. I have to think about that a little bit because when I say think about it, I mean talk about it as I'm thinking about it.
I suppose I like the idea that in the same way that music is made, that this sort of larger than the sum of its
Can I run on that?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so in my past life, I was a musician that was in bands on tour and that sort of thing. And so I had this faculty member in undergrad who, when I dropped out of school to move to LA to be in a band, she said she'd never heard me play music before, but she was sure I was a better artist and I was making a mistake. And I wish I could go find her and be like, you were right. Because I was actually a really bad artist. I had talented friends. Or I was a bad musician and I had really talented friends. And that let me have a cool before life. But still thinking like the music industry and especially like punk and DIY music is so much of how I think about art and making and the economics of publishing, especially the type of publishing that we do, that still like music industry ethos is so much a part of the way I think about publishing. But I think it's also, I've gotten to a point where describing publishing, and especially the way I publish, where I don't really have artists that come to me and say, I want to make this thing and here's what I want it to look like. I have artists that come to me and say, I have an idea for a thing that is nothing like my practice. Can you help me make this? And so the analogy I've started to make the most these days is that I think of myself kind of more similar to music producers and how like you've got, Jim E. Stack has written like every record that I actually care about in the last 2 years, but like he's not the name that's on the front of any of the records. He is so like integral to making the beats and the music, and I think that that's a lot of how I think about publishing, is that there is this real collaboration going on where I'm really helping a person make their work, but it's also my work, and so yes.
One might say that's sort of similar to like the relationship that like a writer, maybe like Raymond Carver, might have had with his editor, Gordon Lish, who a lot of people credited his spare style to his editor. And that when he stopped working with that editor, his work became in some ways more, I don't know, wordy or expansive. And sometimes I think like each publishing house has its own sound, or does that resonate with you, Luca?
I always thought I don't, something about, maybe it's like my background, but I've always that analogy does make sense to me. But for me, it's a lot closer to filmmaking, like, because the thing I fell in love with it, because I started out as a filmmaker, and like the reason I fell in love with it was the sequence. Like I love the fact that an image next to another image has a new meaning. Like together they make a new meaning. And that's like foundationally what I love about designing a book. And then everything after that is like trying to make sense of this poem you wrote, you know, like how it fits into your larger publishing practice, how it represents the work of the artist. Those are kind of thoughts that I have like later. And when making, it feels more like filmmaking. And I think if I had a music background, it would feel more like composing, you know?
But yeah, I think there's a lot been said about the sort of linear sort of quality of, or the linear narrative sort of quality of bookmaking has a lot of alignment with filmmaking. Do you think sometimes when you're, maybe Abby, you could think about that. Mm-hmm. I also think sometimes like when you're in the sort of production sort of side of bookmaking, it's like working in a restaurant. And I very often think that when we're working downstairs.
Yeah, I'll be assembling and putting
doing the same thing over and over and over and over again.
Totally. Yeah. I spent a lot of time touring with bands and working with musicians for years and years and years, and then realized that you could like sell merch. I was like, oh, bring a book, bring a zine.
And that's what book fairs are. Book fairs are us standing behind merch tables.
Yeah. So I bring some stuff with me on tour to sell and stuff along the way before. Yeah, but I relate to what you're saying. And like DIY and like punk world and stuff, and you get it. Yeah, I would read like those like Comet Bus and a lot of those zines. But
one of the things we talked about in some of our preliminary conversations was this sort of spirit of generosity that we see in the independent publishing world, and especially in the world of publishing that three of you do. And something else we talked about was sort of the sort of relationship independent publishing has, what we sort of we're trying to find a way to valorize that world, and rather than calling it the secondary art world, which we sort of said, it's as opposed to the capital A art world. Any more insights about that?
I don't know. There might be perceptions that it's different than art world, but I think it's interconnected.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you.
Yeah, most of the artists I've ever learned about is finding art books about them and things like that. So, yeah.
I also think about publishing in the book arts world and the art book world. Like we are actually like so much more entwined with capitalism than the art world. Like how many people are really buying paintings? Like. And how many people are buying sculptures? You know, like they are like that's speculative buying for us to put in free ports, and like most people are not buying that stuff unless they're buying stuff from friends and But when you go to an art fair, I mean, most of us are not going to art fairs to go buy the painting from the gallery at the art fair.
Yeah.
But with art book fairs, like I'm making hundreds of books that I'm selling to people, and I am making money at these book fairs. And I am helping artists make money, and I am helping artists get into institutions and get into libraries. And so I think that there's this kind of, I think, an interesting thing within publishing is that we're countercultural, but we also we're making products for the system of capitalism, which like is in theory a bad thing. But I think if we're thinking about it intentionally, we have the capacity to be using the tools of capitalism for the good for our community in a way that a lot of commercial galleries, like people are spending a ton of money on paintings that they're not selling all the paintings in that show.
I don't really have a problem with vocation. Do you, Luca?
Well, I think like the thing that stuck out from that to me was like it's about intention, right? So like an art book can function as a catalog, right? Like it can function as secondary to the exhibition.
Yeah.
And then, but it's all about the intention of the publisher or the intention of the artist. It can function as the primary source of the art or the primary venue. And when you prioritize it like that and you sell it to people, show it to people, I think that people are smarter than we give them credit for. You know, like our community understands that very easily. Like they can just sort of see it, and that gives it value. Like, and so when people, I've had like other times where I've, you know, been on talking about the art book fair, the kind of like rise of the art book fair. And I think when that shift happened, when people started treating these spaces, the book space as a primary space, and it's something that's always happened, but when it became more foregrounded, that's when the art book fair just took off, because people were like, oh, I'm like getting a similar experience here to buying a work of art, like, because it's something that's the primary source. There's this Elisa Carrion like text called The Art of Making Books. And it's like, it's kind of like a manifesto about like how many things a book can be. And it really can be anything. Like it can be an artwork, it can be a document of an artwork. And I think that whenever we're making these books, we're playing with all of those notions. Like they're hardly ever just one or the other. Like part of it is catalog, part of it is new work. And I think like I see that in Zach's work and Abby's work. Like, you know, like if you, like a lot of people at the book fairs make zines or whatever, but they're not traditional fanzines. They're not like to be handed away at a concert, you know?
Right.
So it's like all those things change meaning and become like, you know, multiple things.
Right. Now that we've talked about some of the sort of larger ideas we have about that, can you tell us about some of your original impulses that maybe first pulled you into self-publishing?
Well, going to a printed matter fair in 2008, just like walking into this building and it was just incredible. I didn't realize there was like so much going on in the publishing world, actually. And
can you describe to us in maybe a sentence or two what the printed matter book fair is?
Printed matter. So it's an art book fair. You guys probably know. Well, it's an art book fair that happens in New York City and actually sometimes in LA. And it's book publishers from around the world. And in New York, a lot of New York publishers. And it's like tables and people bring their books to sell. And it's over a couple of days and there's workshops and other things connected to it. And it's really incredible. And
about 1 million people go to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, it was just incredible. So I started going to as many book fairs as I could get to, and started meeting other like little people there making books, and that just it was incredible. When I started making zines when I was a teenager, I had a zine called Dork World. And I just recruited friends in high school, like people in my classes and stuff, to contribute things, writing and drawings and stuff, and then bring it back to school. And everyone would get really excited about it. And this over the years, just here and there, making projects. and then other people publishing my projects, and then I guess probably in 2020, coming to San Francisco. I moved to San Francisco in 2020, and I met Luca somewhere. I don't remember where exactly, but I went to visit the headquarters, the basement. Yeah, and I was like, "This is amazing! You made this. This is incredible. How did you make this? How did you make this?" And just very calmly explained how I made each element, and that was really amazing. And it actually really inspired me to like make more zines and work with people. I was like, it just, I don't know. That's a little rambling, but yeah.
That sounds like a lot of publishers' origin stories, because so many of us come from other places. Mm-hmm. Did you come from somewhere else as an artist before you started publishing, Luca?
Geographically?
No.
Oh.
I know you're from here.
Yeah.
We talked to your mom.
Yeah.
We did.
Your mom.
Oh, my mom called while we were doing
She was
a
so
sound
mad at
check
him.
because I forgot to tell her about this. And she's really mad. Like, I texted her 4 times after we talked, and she hasn't responded. And she looks at her phone constantly, so I know she read them.
Oh.
So I'm really scared, actually. But I kind of, yeah. Anyway, I think that for me, I realized that I kind of alluded to this earlier, but I realized that there was like, I didn't come from a sort of zine background, which I've always been like super jealous of people like Abby. Like, I think that's so cool, like the kind of cut and paste Xerox background, because it really, like, once I started learning about it, I was like, oh my God, this is like foundational editing. Like, it's like, this is how layouts should be taught, like, because it's just very straightforward but also has all of the nuances of kind of layout and sequencing in it. And I think it's perfect for just like how to make books. But anyway, sorry. Yeah, that wasn't me at all. I was an artist, and I thought I was printing for people. I started getting really into screen printing in my own art practice, and then I started printing for other people, and then through those collaborations of printing for other people, they slowly turned from prints into books, and then that's kind of just how it started.
Right.
What about you, Zach?
I was the editor of my high school newspaper.
Oh, wow.
Like that, like, and it's a thing that honestly not until like during COVID, when I volunteered to give my artist talk to literally anybody any like class that wanted it, I would zoom in. And so I really was giving a lot of reps and digging through stuff. And as I found this box full of high school newspapers that I am embarrassed to even know they exist in this closet, but that was such a catalyst that at 17, I was using PageMaker and telling 25 people what to do to put a publication together that we were putting out once a month.
PageMaker.
Yeah. Like, that's really a lot of what the impetus for it was. But then, like, when I went to school, I made a bunch of really big AbX paintings that were also really bad. And then it wasn't really until moving to the Bay that I was doing some screen printing because of band stuff and merch and stuff, that it wasn't until moving to the Bay that I started to do more of this kind of industrial printmaking, especially of like letterpress and book arts type stuff. And what I really hated about painting was that, like, to me, no offense to the painters in the room, I love painting. But painting is kind of screaming at you on the wall, where books, a person is there. It is one of the few art mediums that the viewer is who is in control. And that was something that was really important to me, with especially the type of things that I like publishing, that I publish some kind of difficult things. And so that was really important to me and became a really important way to translate some of the more complicated things that I was thinking about. And also, my brain is broken in the way that making books makes sense, in a way that my paintings weren't good.
One of the something that I always think about the Bay Area is that we live in a huge craft hub. It's like a craft hut. And it's certainly the world that my entree into bookmaking was very different from that. It was all through the material end of things, and something that like downstairs that we're just like so far into the analog material side of it. I wonder if but I think even the kind of publishing you all do, listening to what you talk about, there is just by its nature making these book objects, it's very material. Maybe you could talk about some of how your material engagement, like the ink, the paper, the machines, influence your practice.
So risograph is a Japanese duplication machine, and you can do one color at a time, and basically it makes a stencil on a drum, and and you can layer up the colors, and they've got like really, really gorgeous, bright, fun colors. Mm-hmm. And it's like a kind of a finicky machine, and sometimes you have to sing to it or talk to it to get it to work correctly. But yeah, and it's gotten a lot of people use it. They like the colors and the textures, and it's got like this nice matte ink that really like sinks into the paper, and there's a risograph machine where my studio is, and part of the reason I decided to stick with this studio here in San Francisco at the Minnesota Street Project is I was walking through and it's like, there's a risograph here. Do people use this? And we're like, yes, we will use it. And I was like, can I use it? Like, yes, you can use it. So I print pretty much everything on that, like the last couple of years. And previously, it was when people printed my work, I guess it was like soft paper and like colors that could sort of, just like no sharpness, I suppose.
I think you also use a little letterpress printing, don't you?
Yes, I do. Yeah, there's a letterpress in San Francisco called Imagine a River, and we work together. It's like in a old horse carriage behind a house, and it's like a secret garden. And we go in there, we play records, and we drink tea, and we'll work all night.
That's very San Francisco, Abby.
It's really nice.
Is that how you do it in the East Bay, Zach?
No, I just.
By the way, this is the East Bay couch here, and that's the San Francisco couch there.
Very much separated by a
that's
bridge.
right.
Yeah.
I have to talk about the Bay Area. I have the hot take when I like to talk about letterpress that like I think letterpress like has its relevance today largely because of communities in the Bay Area that we're keeping it alive. And I think similarly, like most of us in the Bay Area print Riso because of Luca. And like I think that Riso across the country is really important because of Luca, because of Colpa. Like, there are so many people that you are that's the first time I saw Riso. And you were in back in the day when there were like 10 people doing Riso at book fairs and you still had to explain it to everybody, you really are such an impetus for that. And I think are really in the same Bay Area tradition of like the reason book arts and the reason letterpress, in my opinion, like has such a national foothold still that like you are really a big part of maintaining that medium, I think. And I think that's worth mentioning.
Thanks.
Yeah.
It's true. Like when we started, I kind of like, I think it's really great to have like George's project, right? So there's a friend of ours named George Weeder who runs this thing called Issue Press, but he also does this thing called Stencil Wiki. I highly recommend if you're interested in Riso printing to look at it. It's sort of like, it shows you a map of like where all Riso printers are working.
But wait a few weeks to look at it because it's being
it's
rebuilt.
down right now?
It's a disaster.
Okay. But it also like lists all the colors and what drums are compatible with what machines. And it was through talking to George in those like early days that I realized like how many people even then were doing it, and just I didn't didn't know about each other because we had no way of connecting, because it was before it had like broken onto the art book fair world. So there actually were like a lot of people before me, and that group of us, but we just didn't know how to find them. And so the work that he did there is kind of cool, because it'll even show you like a little bit of a chronology of it. And the reason I got into it from a material standpoint, and why I think it struck a chord with so many of us, is like it was very cheap, and it was obsolete. So like there's this thing that just becomes so attractive, I think, not just to me, but like to a lot of artists, about obsolete machines, because they're
Go downstairs later tonight.
yeah. And I feel like I don't have to tell anyone here that, but at the same time, like I've always been attracted to them. Like I use this other machine in my work a lot called a color video printer, and it's more on like the pre-production side of it, but it's a video printer. It's a printer that plugs into a VCR, and so you can take like kind of analog screenshots that come out as dye sublimation prints. And you know, it was a very commonplace thing if, you know, pre-computers, but and concurrently, and then it kind of became sort of reduced down to only being for like sonograms or colonoscopy, like things that had analog video feeds. And so now you have to like buy the paper from medical imaging facilities. Wow. And I actually feel like so and that's how it was for Rizos too. It was like you had to track down some ink that an old copier tech had, and then it was through like all of us using it, which there's very few things that I am so happy about. Like that, there's a lot of things that came out wrong. Like the fact that just all of us Rizo printers using it made it an available resource again is like really amazing, I think.
I think this is like one of the oldest stories of publishing, is that, you know, independent publishers love to use the detritus of industry that is washed up on our shores, that was in popular usage maybe about a decade or two ago, and using it for our art making purposes. And, you know, that goes all the way back to like the foundry at Arion Press. They've got a whole listserv of their own and bookbinders. I don't even go on that anymore, because all they do is argue about like whether you want to wax your thread or not. But those, you know, those kind of conversations are very, very common, you know, that like when we start to get into the nuts and bolts, or what we sometimes want to talk about. And I think that's something that's very common within publishing, and that's a commonality that we have with all kinds of publishing, whether it's fine press publishing or artist book publishing, and that's mania. And I sometimes think that's the thread that connects all these disparate kinds of publishing. So there's like Rizo mania, there's photocopier mania, there's Vandercook mania that goes on like a lot downstairs, wood type mania, and so what do you think drives, or you know, we just talked a little bit about that, or what's your mania, Zach?
So I'm gonna be the contrarian to an extent.
You can also say the other side of that question too.
Oh yeah. Yes, and.
Since we're on an improv
yeah,
stage,
we are in an improv stage.
Yeah, this is an improv. Yeah, just run with that.
Yeah, where I think there is especially within Rizo, there are a handful of people that are like, the fluorescence, you make so many things, Rizo's so cool. No, I fucking hate Rizo. But I got a Rizo 10 years ago when it was still really cheap. And then I started publishing, and then I bought some more Rizos, and now I do a lot of contract printing for people, and now I've got 5 Rizos and 27 drums, and that's what I do, and I'm kind of stuck with it. I wish I had more time for screen printing. I wish I had more time for letterpress. I just am a Rizo guy because I've like put in the reps.
Yeah, I get it. Man.
And so I think that is a really funny thing about Rizo, is that like they're kind of like the battled like the Rezo, and then there are people that are really excited about Rezo.
Lead type, Jesus.
I mean, yeah, I mean, the same thing happens with letterpress for sure. Yeah, but that's like there's a funny I mean, all of these printmaking mediums we're talking about. There's a fetishization from a group, and then there's people that this just is the industry. It is the thing, and we're using Rezo in a way we are not supposed to. This is not what they're designed for. They are designed for the DMV, and we are trying to do something we're not supposed to in a way that pisses Rezo off. Rezo screwed up the fluorescent inks a few years ago. They dry out in the drums, and we have a friend in the UK who he calls Rezo weekly to be like, my neons still don't work, and he finally got an email that confirmed okay, fine. Maybe there may have been something wrong with the batch.
That's amazing.
Yeah. But there's a mania, but also part of the mania is that it's a thing that we got to work with. I don't know if that answered it, but
I got so enchanted by the Rezo machine that I made a miniature Rezo that lights up, and it used to have sound, but it's like a shrine to the Rezo that when I go to print, I bring it snacks and like
a transmission object. Do you have to touch it before you print?
Exactly. I'm today we're going to print, and I hope that we can print. I hope we can come out and print today. And yes, that's all.
This is feeling really familiar because I just watched Christine last night, when I feel like there's in between you guys the story of Christine.
Oh, Christine. Yeah.
Have you guys seen that?
Yeah, that's appropriate.
A car that you fall in love with, and then it kills everyone.
Kills you.
Yeah.
Kills everyone you love.
Yeah.
Rezo's
Not to be too dramatic about it, but I see that. I think that's what's cool about it. It doesn't want. It's not easy to work with, and so when I look at Abby's books and Zach's books, I do less of it these days, but I see it in both of your guys' practices so intensely how labored it is. And you don't see it in other kinds of in all other kinds of printmaking. You see it in some, you see it in letterpress too, sometimes, and but with Rezo, it's you're just pushing it to do something it was never meant to do, and that really translates as you feel the kind of sweat in it, the sweat equity.
Yeah,
that's not the right term.
Another friend of mine told me once that a lot of artists are divided into two camps, and I know which camp I'm in, and some of them are really into the science and the technology of their mediums, and the other ones are pure magic. I think I fall into the latter. I think maybe Jonathan Gerken here, you might be on the other side of that there, Jonathan, and it's always good to have people like Jonathan to call when I get hung up on my magic too much. But would you say, Abby, you fall more on the magic side or the science side?
Magic, but it's also laborious and trying to figure out different error codes and finding special ways to get the machine to make the thing that you're trying to make it to make.
It's a painful way to be, but you have to accept things about yourself.
And but I think magic is definitely it's more looking at the artist's work and in the editing process too. I feel there's a lot of that's a sort of a magical. It's not technical necessarily, and it's more intuitive, and
there are definitely people in the Rezo world that are insufferable scientists. There's this guy, Travis Schaefer, in Missouri that a couple people in the room know this person. Who Travis?
I'm not saying you're insufferable, Jonathan.
Yeah. Oh no.
love you.
And Travis would admit to this being the case. But Travis is also responsible for like the best color separations that exist within Rezo, and everything that he is making profile wise, he's sharing with everyone, and is an extremely generous person. And we are all taking advantage of like the unique way his brain is broken to care about possibilities of color relationships within Rezo more than anyone on the planet. And so like you can push it. But I really fall into the camp of like, yeah, you can try as hard to make it good, but also sometimes it won't be. It's Rezo. And like living in that kind of Zen space, I think is really the like secret to the medium for me.
We at Arion in the bindery, my colleagues from the bindery that are here tonight, Jocelyn, Megan, and Diane, we're really obsessed with this tool maker in Chicago right now named Daniel Mellis, who is definitely on the science end of things. And he's like, we use these triangles a lot that are 90-degree triangles. And Daniel was talking to me once. He goes, John, I made a 89.5-degree triangle, and it'll solve all your problems, because when you cut something 90 degrees and then you get some glue on it, it stretches a little bit. It doesn't go down straight. And so we're obsessed with them now. So we cut everything now to 80. And that's not something I would have ever thought of, because I'm just like into magic. But he just looked at the hard numbers and figured out that
That's so cool.
89.5 degrees was the way to do it. So I try and we also try and work against our own best impulses sometimes, which I think is a good process thing.
Yeah, there's like this funny thing that happens that maybe is kind of what you were saying, Zach. Like, since I do printing as a service too, I get a lot of people who will be like, when they come to print Rezo with me, they'll be like, I really want it to be like off register. And I'm like, oh yeah, don't worry.
When people design for it to be off register, it's like, but I can't. Am I supposed to line this up? What's it supposed to be?
I will do my hardest to register it, and it still won't work. But if we go for that, it's going to be so bad you won't like it.
That's a really hard thing to do. Yeah, that's almost the hardest thing to do, is make something look like bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, shout out to all the Instagram Rezo filters out there.
Oh, yeah.
What kind of publishing isn't about commerce? Zach?
That just makes me think about
vis-a-vis what you said earlier,
Yeah.
which I really appreciated about.
Okay, so I'm about to say something that I'm coming to as I'm saying it, so I don't know if I fully believe in it. I think that's the difference between publishing and bookmaking, is that I don't know if publishing can exist outside of commerce, but I think that making books can. And I talked about this in one of our talks, where apparently Laura Owens has this secret bookmaking studio in LA that she has artists come in to make books, and they make exactly 2 copies of the book, and no one sees them. They each get a copy, and that's it. And so I think that's a realm.
There's someone in this room who might be able to tell you about that after the talk.
Oh, okay, fantastic.
Awesome.
Oh, okay. Well, talk to
Sorry,
them,
Courtney.
We won't call you.
No. Abby, what's one thing you've learned the hard way about publishing?
The hard way. Okay. Oh, well, having another company publish my work, working with a major publisher, sounds good until you're there. At least for me.
They bury you alive.
Until they bury you alive. Yeah, very spooky. And realizing how it actually, making your own books or self-publishing and working with small press is really kind of wonderful. In a lot of ways, at least in my experience, and I guess it's called the big trade or whatever, that it's way too intense and there's way too much at stake, and working on a smaller scale, to me, it's much less stressful, and and things don't have to go everywhere in the world to be important. They don't need to they don't need to be giant to be impactful.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any hard lessons, Luca? Or easy ones?
The easy ones. The easy ones are, I always have this thing where like I say it to myself, and I used to say it so much that one of my studio mates like wrote it down and put it on our wall. And it was like, how could I be this wrong? Like, I like am constantly wrong. And I think that's why I like it. Like I think I have something figured out. And then like, I'm actually looking at an artist, right? Like I have an artist come by who wants to do something that is beyond my capabilities. And then it like makes me a better printer. And I think that like, that's something like I never had. I like people talk about it. It's how you find your vocation. Like, but like I never had it my whole life until I started printing. Like it was like, it's like, and I still think I'm bad at it. Like, and I think with other stuff, like I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a good enough driver. Like I mastered that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I don't need to think about driving more. But the fact that I am constantly thinking about being better at it, it make me like obsessed with it. So maybe like, I don't know if that's a lesson.
No, thank you.
but-
Yeah. That's reassuring because I feel the same way.
Okay. Oh wow, that's reassuring for me. I feel like everyone else has it figured out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But yeah.
How about you, Zach? Hard lessons.
Make sure you send artist proofs.
Thank you.
Don't just do it over text message photos.
Do you have any new projects coming up?
Yeah, I have some downstairs. I've been working with my brother on a project. He's been collecting T-shirts. He lives in Hanoi, Vietnam, but he's lived all over Southeast Asia and in China for years. He's at year 21 now. And he goes to all the punk shows. He's very involved with like underground music scene. And he has to get this shirt. He's been having to get the shirt for like 21 years at every show. So he's got this incredible collection. It's an archive
There you go.
of local punk bands from
Typology.
Yeah. So I went to visit him and photographed him in every single shirt. And so we're going to make a zine of just every single shirt that Josh owns. He's amazing.
That's
He's
a great title, by
Yeah.
the way. How about you, Luca?
New projects?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is kind of weird actually. Maybe it ties back to what you were saying. Like I just published a book with someone else, which I had never done before. Like about my own
worked with a publisher.
of my own practice. I do this thing with my friend Mitsu called our studio, we call it the basement, but we have like a collection of VHS tapes there. And I've turned it into so many books for Colpa because I think it's very nice to make your hobby your practice because then you save time. But like, but someone saw some of these little kind of zines we were making, and they were like, "Hey, can we publish a book about your VHS collection?" And we do these weekly screenings every Wednesday. So I guess that's why I wanted to bring it up. like we do weekly screenings every Wednesday. It's Basement VHS if you want to find us online, and it just has become this thing that I got excited about because I didn't have to print the book for once.
Right. Somebody else did it.
Someone else did it. It was so weird. And I wasn't allowed to talk to them because like I had a production manager at the publisher. So I had to like tell him what was wrong with the book, and then he would tell the printer.
Right.
And so it was like this game of telephone that took forever.
Yeah.
Like it took like a year to make this book, which I never spend that much time on my own work. And so So it was a learning experience. I feel like
Hard
probably
way.
you have a similar story, probably.
Right. How about you, Zach? And then I'm going to go the other way and ask you to tell us real briefly, like, what do you have on your table downstairs so we
Okay,
know what to
great.
expect.
I'm in a really strange moment at the moment right now where I actually don't have any publishing projects coming up because I went way too hard last year and I put out like 22 books in the last 18 months or something stupid like that. Which WoW was also like out of the country for 4 months, and so I had intentionally decided I had to take the fall off to work on my own stuff. So I'm currently working on a couple of strange projects, summing up a lot of this work I was doing in Estonia last year. And also this really interesting commission for St. Mary's College that will be a show in February, the same week as Codex, which is great timing. Yeah, so taking a lot of photos and working with business students at St. Mary's College. It's an interesting project. And so I'm in a real moment of when I'm not teaching, actually just thinking about my own work, which is really has not been the case for the last like 7 years. So yeah. On my table downstairs, I've got a handful of newer projects that are still in print and for sale, as well as a strange collection of old nostalgia books, including one of my first books, which Luca printed. I also have, today I decided to make a keepsake print for everyone to take instead of
That's
work on
nice.
things I needed to work on. That is
Because that's just the way Zach is.
it's stupid. And also with Rezo, I can go, well, let's make 200 prints today. And it's not a big deal. So these are downstairs on my table. It's Amsterdam and Fort Mason, multiple exposed. Yeah.
Anything you want to tell us about what you have to show us downstairs?
Oh, me? Oh, yeah. So I think maybe you saw a photo, but I made this book this is kind of pretty, maybe pointing back to what we were talking about, actually, like illustrative of the way that I work with artists sometimes. Like, I made this book with my friend Mikey, which is called Video Paintings, Mike Jensen, and it's he makes paintings on Mario Paint, which is a Super Nintendo game, and they take him a really long time because it's not made for elaborate paintings, and the only way you could figure out how to export them, and actually the reason we became friends, is that he can export them to VHS, and then I use my video printer to make a dye sublimation print of it, and then I scan those prints, sequence the book together, and print them on my digital press. But this is the third volume we've done, and it's the foundation of our friendship, was him trying to get these paintings off of his Super Nintendo.
Wow.
And and I really like that too. I know you guys both do that too, but returning to the same artist. Like, I know we don't have any time left, but I really think that's like important to not always just like move on to the shiny thing, you know, like, which is good. Like I try to work with new artists all the time, but like, I really love these like ongoing relationships that you have with people
Yeah.
over years.
I agree with that.
So on the table, I have my Rezo shrine that everyone's welcome to give 3 taps. and I made little silkscreen cards from a woodblock print that I made that people can take. And then I have about 20...
Another keepsake.
Yeah, another keepsake. And then about 20 years of print projects in scrapbooks. So I've got photographs of people working on the books, ephemera. Sometimes I use 35 millimeter, so there's like little test strips and stuff like that for some of the projects. And there's tons of them. I put together a ton of scrapbooks, and then I've got a few books for sale. My infinite calendar, and
Oh, I need a new one of those.
it never runs out. Yeah. And then there's a few other things, some posters.
Great. I hope you all have a chance to come down and look at the wares. It's really important to look at the objects. Do we have a few minutes for questions, Sienna? The capable Sienna's walking around with
I'm
her
gonna
live
come around.
mic.
I've got a mic.
there's any
If anyone has a
questions.
couple quick questions to ask, I'll pass the mic around and we can finish out that way. Are there any questions? Great.
So you mentioned the like science and tech versus magic camps, and then Zach, you mentioned George, somebody from who's the nerdy, really amazing science color separation guy.
Oh, that's Travis Schaefer.
Travis Schaefer, sorry.
George is also a brilliant weirdo.
Okay. But you said he was like the sciencey, techie guy, and I'm curious, how he's influenced so many people in the field. So I'm kind of curious, like, who's the magic guy? How has magic influenced this techie science guy?
That's a really good question. You mean specifically in Riza?
Wow, Magic Rizo. There's a lot of really good Rizo printers. Making all kinds
I mean,
of cool-
Abby is the only person that has a shrine, I think.
That is true. One of the witchiest printers.
Do you know who's a magic printer that uses Rizo and 35 millimeter is an artist named Sergei Vutic.
Oh, yeah, he's amazing. That's a
Sergei
great call.
is incredible. I've been collecting his zines for years. And that they're incredible. I wish I brought some with me, but he takes photographs, 35 millimeter, develops them, and then he's got a dark room at home, and he'll like layer up his negatives, and then he'll take trash and breaks the light, and then from those prints, and then he scratches into them and writes into them, and from there he uses Rizo, and sometimes he uses a photocopy machine too, but he does Rizo, and it's just like has that nice powdery dark matte like quality, and it makes the photo. I learned how to do. I started printing Rizo, like black Rizo, because of Sergei, because I was like, oh, that's the depth. That's the darkest black. That's what I want. The mattest black, and but I learned it from Sergei. But he's a total magician. He also does noise. He's like a noise musician. He started bringing a photocopy machine with him to the gigs. He rolls them in and like hooks up mics to them and plays it. And he'll like make a zine, like a live zine. It sounds cheesy, but it's incredible. It's like, and he's playing a Super 8. Anyway, I would say he's the magician that I know of.
That's a great call.
Anyone else? Don't be shy. Everyone just really wants to go downstairs and see these tables that we're talking about.
I want to thank Abby and Luca and Zach for this really, for me, very illuminating discussion about
Thank you, John.
practice.
Thank you.
Thank you. And come on downstairs. We're going to have a little reception, I think, right, Sienna? We'll have some snacks and you can look at books and talk to the artists some more.